Hi students, welcome back to the next video in Model 3. In this video, the topic which we are going to discuss is exception handling in Java. The exception handling is one of the biggest feature and foremost feature which is provided in Java, which is not in previous higher languages like C and C++. So that is what Java is called as a robust language, and it is because of its feature. So in this video, we are going to start the introduction of how one exceptions are handled in Java programming and how we can write multiple catch and try statements in Java. Let us go to the topic. The Java exception handling is done with the help of 5 keywords. What are those means? First one is try, catch, finally, throw, and throws. So these 5 important keywords which plays a major important role in exception handling. And coming on to its type, the Java exceptions are classified into 2 major categories like exception and error. And again, the exception is classified into checked exception and unchecked exception. These and all we will see in this video in detail. So the exception handling, how it comes means, what is the logic behind the exception means, it is an object. Java exception is an object that describes an exceptional condition that has occurred in a piece of code. So in a piece of code, if any exception or any errors occurs, so that is notified by the object called Java exception. When an exception condition arises, an object representing that exception is created and thrown in the method that caused the error. The method may choose to handle the exception itself or passing on it. So this is called as exception, and the exception is caught and proceeded. These exceptions can be generated by the Java runtime system, and it can be manually generated by the code. The exceptions, how we can process the exception means, exceptions can be thrown by Java to relate the fundamental errors that error will violate the rules or the Java language. So that in that situation, the exceptions will be thrown. So this is the general form of an exception handling in Java. It starts with the keyword try, and within the try blocks, a block of code to monitor for the errors is written. Then in the after immediately the try blocks, catch will be written. So catch is nothing but if any types of suspected errors will be in the block of code to monitor, so that exception along with one objects it will be created. So with the exceptional object, we can do any displaying operation, or we can do any of our related logic in the catch code. So that's what exception handler for exception type of 1. Then similarly, and one more exception, for one particular block of code in try, we can have multiple catch functions. So that is what it is, a best example of multiple catch exceptions. The first type will be in the type of exception 1. For that, one object is created, and similarly for exception type 2, one object is created. If it is not catched in the particular exceptions, finally after the immediate try block, what kind of block code should be written to stop this anomaly exception codings means, so that will be written in the finally block code. So block of code to be executed after the try block ends is written using the keyword called finally. So this is the general form of an exception handling in Java. Coming to its type, all exception types are subclasses of built-in class throwable. So the base class of exception in Java is called as throwable. This throwable class is classified into 2 types. One is exception, another one is error. Exception is mainly used for exceptional condition that the user should catch it. The best and foremost exceptions is called as runtime exception. These are all the type of exception which are automatically defined by the program when you are writing, and it will be Say for example, if you are working on arithmetic expressions like division or some in the array operations means, so in the corresponding exceptions will be thrown here as number format exception, array indexed out of bound exception. Like that, some built-in automatically exceptions are there. Those kind of exceptions are considered as exception category. Here this examples of exceptions are SQL exception, IO exception, number format exception, and error. Another type of throwable types are called as error, which defines the exception that are not expected to be caught. So those exception will be suspected, but this kind of errors will not be suspectable, or it is not accepted to caught under a normal circumstance of by a program. Exceptions of type error are used by the Java runtime system to indicate errors having to do with the runtime system itself. The best example for this error is SQL overflow exception. We will have one more diagram which exactly says some of the examples of exceptions in Java definitions. So as we know that throwable is divided into two types, error and exception. Exceptions are like IO exception, class not found exception, runtime exception. This runtime exceptions is found at the during the execution time. So what kind of exceptions will be thrown at the runtime side means illegal argument exception, null pointer exception, arithmetic expression, number format exceptions. So these are all the different types of exceptions coming under the type of runtime. Okay, so this runtime exception, as the name itself, it is identified during the execution time. Then another one example which shows that whether the exception is checked exception or unchecked. What is meant by checked, ma'am? If the exception, the code of error is expected at compile time means that kind of exceptions are called as checked exception. If it is not predicted or if it is not accepted during the compilation means it will be obviously found in the execution time. So that kind of exceptions are called as unchecked exception. So it is differentiated in color wise. This unchecked exceptions are displaying in green color, and this checked exceptions are shown in the red color. So here always this throwable exception package is derived from the object package. So that's what it is given from object to throwable. Throwable is divided into error and exceptions. The errors, coming to errors, it has thread death, virtual machine error, IO errors, out of memory error, stack overflow error. So these are all the some of the unchecked exceptions. Then move on to Java exception handling. It is that is what we already told, that it is handled by the 5 keywords. Those are all try, catch, throw, throws, and finally try block. Try block, the Java code that you think may produce an exception is placed within a try block of suitable catch block to handle the error. So in the Java code, what is the code you want to produce an exception? That code will be written inside the try block. If any exception is not found, so no exception occurs means the execution proceeds with the finally block. Okay. So this is what the condition for try block. And move on to catch one. Catch exceptions will be thrown during the execution of the try block, and when any exception is caught or any exception is identified means that will be handled in the catch block. So on the exit of this catch block, it will continue the next normal continuation. Whether if any finally block is executed, is written, it will go and execute the finally block, or else it will continue the next remaining set of block of codes. Then finally, what is meant by finally? Finally is always executed regardless of the cause of exit from try block or any other block was executed. Finally means at the end of the try blocks, that code piece of code will be executed. It will not check whether any catch is found or any catch is found or not catch, no catch is found. So like that it won't disturb anything. And generally finally block is used for freeing the resources, cleaning up and closing connections. So these are all the main motivation of why we use the finally block. And move on to one example program here. Here we have written the class with the name of exception. Move on to example program here. Here the example program has class named with exercise 2. Then public static void main is started. Then int DA try. Within the try block, some codes are written. What are the codes means? D is assigned to 0 and A is equal to 42 divided by D. Right? So this is the block of, for example, this is the block of code to monitor. So those block of code is written in the try block. Then we know that what kind of block of code is written inside the try block. So according to the case, what kind of errors we can catch it here means arithmetic expressions. So that is nothing but divide by 0 error. If you divide any numbers by 0, it will not be a correct division. So it will throw an exception as arithmetic expression. So that's what inside the catch expression, it shows a message like division by 0. Then immediately after the try and catch block statement, what is the statement which is written in the class will be start continuing. So after catch statement, what is written? System.out.println is written. So that is what it is printed here. It's a very simple example which shows how we can try a block of code to monitor and accordingly how we can start one catch expression. Displaying a description of an exception. So here how we can write a one message or something inside the exception means, that is what given here. Using system.out.println using the object of E. E is nothing but the object for the exception arithmetic. Say for example, arithmetic exception is my exception. For that, E is the object means inside the catch, what I can do is I can write my system.out.println exception, but I'll put my heading as exception of E. So at that time, what is the output here means exception java.lang.arithmetic expression by 0 is my corresponding object which is thrown in the in this example. Then multiple catch class. How we can write the multiple catch means in some cases more than one exceptions can be raised. So at that time, to handle that situation, what we can do, we can write more than one catch classes with a different object type, object name. When an exception is thrown, each catch statement is inspected in order, one by order. First, what catch statement is written, that will be checked. The next catch statement will be checked in the next statement. Likewise, it will be checked and accordingly it will work. Here is an example for multiple catch. It starts with a class name, public static void main. Here, one set of coding is written. See, look at this coding. Inside the try block, what we have written, int a equal to args of length. What is the input argument we are giving? That is, the length of the input argument is stored in the variable a. Then in system.out.println, a is written. Then int b equal to 42 divided by a. Then int c equal to, within the quotes, 1, and c of 42 is equal to 92. Whether these codes are correct, can you able to just no. So accordingly, these codings are not correct. So accordingly, corresponding exception should be raised and should be catched. So we know that what kind of exceptions can arise as means here arithmetic expression, because divided by 0 is one of the case. And then C of 42 is equal to 92. See, C of 42, here C is defined as without any size. Here array index out of bound obviously will occur. So that's what array index out of bound catches for written. So according to this case, there are two major exceptions can be caught. So like that, two catch expression is written. Inside the each catch expression, corresponding message is also written. So what it will return means, it will throw an error as, it will throw an messages as divide by 0 and divide by index. C here, divide by 0 arithmetic long expression arithmetic java.lang.arithmetic exception by 0 is my output, one output, and array index object lang array index out of bound exception 42. So these are all the two outputs I can get according to the previous example. So I hope so this video is informative for you. I will catch you in the next video about next topic. Thank you.